this Ukrainian conflict is what it portends about the future. And what we're really seeing is a war on truth from this Russian regime. On truth, period, in the notion of truth. Is there such a thing as objective truth? They just don't care. And I think it's important that we use the word disinformation as opposed to propaganda. Propaganda from the old Soviet time was pushing a particular line. It was an ideology, a communist, revolutionary, Marxist ideology. You could read it in a book, you knew what it believed in. It was being, it had parties all over the world and sympathizers all over the world on the revolutionary left. It was very clear what they were trying to do. Here, it's just confusion. And they'll wake up one morning and there'll be a narrative about the world, and then they'll go to bed and there's a completely different one. So the government in Kiev right now are being told there's a bunch of far-right extreme Nazis in the morning, and then in the evening we learn that there are a bunch of homosexual European weenies. Okay? What is it? Are they one or the other? But these are the both messages that are coming out at the same time. And amazingly, a large proportion of people in the West tend to believe this. You have your kind of old-fashioned, lefty, Soviet nostalgic, like Stephen Cohen types. I'm sure you've all familiar with him and seen him on television. Former guest. Very popular here, I can tell. But then, interestingly, you also have a sort of Pat Buchanan traditional right, old right here in the United States, which is also attracted to this, which is ironic for many reasons, considering the fact that these guys were a bunch of Cold Warriors not long ago, devising ways to destroy the Russians. And now here they are saying that Putin is this great defender of traditional values in the family, and he's defending sovereignty and whatnot. So it's finding a very strange collection of people to kind of come around it. And because it's not really ideological, because it's not left or right, it blends all different sorts of ideologies and beliefs together. It's very difficult to combat. And I think we need what Paul's great colleague Robert Conquest, a great scholar of the Soviet Union, once said that to confront this danger, we needed a united front against bullshit. And I think that that's what we need now in battling this disinformation.
Thank you, James, very much. This was actually also what I was going to talk about. The purpose of this panel, as it was announced, is a kind of twofold. So it's first of all to uncover the disinformation that comes to the media, and the second purpose is to find the ways to fight it. And also the question was if there is any way that high tech can help to fight the disinformation, the propaganda, and all these things. So what I wanted to say is that, in my opinion, there is no way that high tech alone can help fighting propaganda. And first thing of all that we need is we need an educated society, talking about both the US, Ukraine, any other country. So first of all, we need to educate people so that not that they would tell the truth from the lie, right from the news, but at least that they would go and find different sources of information. And the second part of the solution, in my opinion, is the people who would step up and do something, do what they could to help others. To tell the truth from the lie. Back in Ukraine, we used to have this great initiative called StopFake.org. It was a great example of how just a few people can use the technology, just plain web technologies, to fight the lies, to fight disinformation, and just to disassemble that disinformation that goes to the people, the Ukrainian people, the Russian people, and to show what it consists of.
Thank you, Andrii.
Ladies and gentlemen, hi everybody, hi my friends who is from Ukraine. Thank you for this opportunity to be here and to say most important things for this time. Unfortunately, my English not so good, and I asked my friend to translate you exactly what I can say you, because the information which I bring to you is very dangerous, and I would like to be so sincere to use this time exactly to organize team. I'm here to say who are ready, really ready to work with me to stop InfoWar, to stop propaganda, because this is really dark technology which destroyed Ukraine and destroyed international security and destroyed peace. Давай по фразі будемо говорити. Я думаю, що Путін не дасть нам зробити мир.
I think Putin will not allow us to achieve the peace.
Будь-які перемир'я, як термін, забудьте, навіть не вживайте ніколи.
Any peace treaties, to just forget the terminology and don't use it.
Тому що як працює пропаганда? Викривляє всі поняття.
Because how propaganda works, it's destroying the whole terminology and changing it.
Вас звати Пітер, for example.
For example, your name is Peter.
Ви прекрасна людина, ви все життя нормально і чесно заробляли гроші.
You're a wonderful person who's honest and who's working hard.
Але якщо ви станете цікаві Путіну,
But if in some moment you become very interested to Putin,
у вас з'явиться інше ім'я,
you're going to have a new name.
у вас буде зруйнована повністю доля,
You're gonna have a destroyed future.
від вас відвернуться друзі,
Your friend's gonna decline you.
вам подзвонить мама і скаже, я тобі не вірю.
Your mom gonna call you and say, I don't believe you.
Коли сьогодні зранку я прокинулася і зрозуміла, що існує в Путіна, хоч як, але існує теорія хаосу.
When this morning I woke up and realized that somehow in Putin's there is a theory of chaos that exists.
І це багато що пояснює.
And it explains a lot.
Тому що розхитують не Україну, а цілий світ.
Because it's disinforming not only Ukraine, but the whole world.
Уявіть собі, що таке насправді дезінформація.
Just imagine, what is it really disinformation means?
Сьогодні за гроші ви можете викупити цю квоту і наповнити дезінформацією.
Today for money you can buy the quota and just you fill it with disinformation.
Ви можете купити журналістів,
You can buy journalists.
ви можете викупити час на мас-медіа,
You can buy time for mass media.
ви можете купити мас-медіа,
You can buy mass media.
ви можете забезпечити собі лобі,
You can buy lobby.
ви можете купити політичні голоси.
You can buy political votes.
Якщо ви Путін, ви можете купити собі частину Америки.
If you're Putin, you can buy yourself part of the United States.
Я дуже прошу вас тримати фокус на тому, що ракета Путіна, вона може залетіти в будь-яку сім'ю.
I ask you to keep the focus on that the rockets of Putin can fly into any part of your family.
І не будьте в ілюзії, що воно десь далеко і вас не торкнеться.
And don't have an illusion that it's somewhere far away and it's not going to touch you.
У нас були люди на Майдані, які стояли і не вірили, що буде штурм з військовими.
We had people in Maidan that stayed there and didn't believe that the storm will be there.
Але ми знаємо, що в кінцевому варіанті були снайпери, які розстріляли мирних людей.
But we all know that at the end there were snipers that killed people.
Чому ви потрібні сьогодні мені?
Why I need you today?
Ми пройшли зараз на собі, перевірили і відчули всю пропаганду. Ми пропустили цей вірус через себе.
We came through this propaganda virus, disinformation virus, and we put it through ours.
Я відчула біль всю на своїй сім'ї.
I felt the pain on myself and my family.
По факту, я маю чоловіка зараз, який сидить із ранку до вечора, моніторить всю пропаганду Путіна. Тобто він займається цим цілодобово.
In reality, I have a husband who is 24/7 reading the information online and just cleaning it up.
І він мене питає: Руслана, як ти думаєш, скільки в світі сьогодні правдивої інформації і дезінформації?
And he asks me, what do you think, Ruslana? How do you believe? What is the percentage of the information? Is it true information and what is disinformation?
І чи існують програми, які в стані, в принципі, це вираховувати?
And do you believe there is any progress and any programs that can actually count and find out if it's a true information?
А як вам такий сценарій, коли тролі розмовляють вашими голосами?
How do you like the scenario when trolls is speaking your words and speaking a language?
І знаєте, як ви можете зрозуміти, що це тролі, а не ви?
How can you find out that it's the trolls and not you?
Вони вас підштовхують до самознищення.
They push you to some self-destruction.
Це ваші емоції, але не ваша логіка.
This is your emotion and not your logic.
Хто буде боротися з цими тролями?
Who will fight these trolls?
Хто буде аналізувати цей потік величезний?
Who will analyze this flow of information?
Як можна це організувати? Тому що військові програми, навіть військові програми вже недосконалі.
How can we organize this information and clean it up?
Це є глобальний підхід.
This is a global approach.
Це величезна стратегія.
Big strategy.
Залишіть романтику про боротьбу війни з миром.
Just leave the romance about the fight with peace
І тримайте перед собою тільки два образи.
And keep yourself to two images.
Dark and light.
Dark and light.
І цей образ світла ви пам'ятаєте з Майдану.
And this image of light you remember from Maidan.
Образи, якими керується пропаганда Путіна, це завжди чорне.
The images, the signs that use Putin is always dark.
Це розколоти людей.
It's kill people.
Це є заставити людей злякатися.
Make people be afraid.
Нав'язати паніку і хаос.
Bring chaos and panic.
Україна перебуває сьогодні в інформаційному хаосі.
Ukraine today is in informative chaos.
Де той програміст, де той геній, який зможе допомогти мені зупинити цей хаос?
Where is the engineer, developer, IT guy who will help me to stop this chaos?
Хто цей геній, який скаже мені, Руслана, можна стабілізувати цю дезінформацію, можна її забрати?
Who is the genius who will tell me, Ruslana, we can stop this disinformation, we can clear it out?
Сьогодні моя мама послухала один випуск новин і сказала, що вона після цього зі мною більше не буде говорити.
Today my mom listened to one episode of news for today and said she will not speak with me again.
Тому що російська пропаганда збрехала.
Because Russian propaganda lied.
А моя мама навіть не встигла подзвонити мені і взнати правду.
And my mom didn't have time to call me and actually know the truth.
Мій тато дивиться новини і читає інтернет.
My dad is listening to the news and reading the internet.
І сьогодні він абсолютно точно заявляє, що він готовий йти на війну захищати Україну.
And he is saying that he is completely ready to go for the war.
Я говорю, тато, в нас нема зброї, ми не готові до війни.
I'm telling him that we don't have weapons, we're not ready for war.
А його це не хвилює, він просто готовий йти воювати.
But he doesn't care, he's just ready to go to war.
І так більшість хлопців в Україні.
And that's what the majority of people voice in Ukraine says.
Нас наповнили, інформаційний простір, наповнили цим бажанням іти воювати.
Our disinformative space filled out with all this desire to go to war.
І нам створюють образ ворога.
And then we have an image of the enemy.
Але цього ворога по факту не існує.
But there is no such enemy.
Це є диверсії набагато страшніше, ніж навіть ви зараз слухаєте мене і уявляєте.
That's a diversification that is much more dangerous than you can actually believe or imagine.
Тому що той, хто це організовує, кожен раз сухий виходить з води.
Because the person who's organizing this is always clean.
Ви ніколи не думали, весь світ говорить, який поганий Путін, а він просто йде далі і реалізовує все, що йому треба.
Have you ever think about the fact that everybody's talking about how Putin is so bad, but he's always just get out and walk away?
І політики пробують його зупинити, але чомусь не виходить.
And all the politicians are trying to stop him, but somehow he's always still...
І незалежна журналістика пише правдиві речі, але пропаганди більше.
An independent journalist always writing bad press about Putin, but he still walk away.
І айтішників було дуже багато на Майдані.
We had a lot of IT guys in Maidan.
І айтішники рятували нам життя.
They saved our lives.
Коли айтішники знаходили рішення, нам допомагало це просто елементарно знайти один одного.
When ITs find the solution, it basically help us to find each other on Maidan.
Нас врятували айтішники, нас врятували стрімери, нас врятували твіттершторми.
The IT guys saved us as TV storms and
Я писала велику і мудру промову.
I wrote the big speech and really smart, but
І тут є дуже багато професійних речей, які вас багато цікавлять.
and it has a really professional terminology that you might be interested in.
Але я вирішила вам просто дати емоцію сьогодні.
But I just decided to go through my emotion, give you my emotion and understanding of the thing.
Я вас дуже прошу, як мудрих, одних з наймудріших людей на планеті, почути мій голос сьогодні.
I ask you as one of the most smart and wisdom people in the planet to hear what I try to say to you.
Я всю інформацію вам дам після мого спіча. Всі, хто захоче зі мною попрацювати, я буду чекати от за тим столом.
I will give all the information, all my help here after this panel. I will be right there.
And of course, I will give you more professional information. But my main message to you guys, please, let's think about this situation, not just the problem with Ukraine. This is global health. This is global war. And I need your help. Thank you.
So that's why we're here today. Now, we have representatives of all different forms of media here. James, let me turn to you. You worked at Russia Today.
I didn't work at Russia Today.
Oh, you did not work at Russia Today.
I was asked to come on and talk about it.
Can you talk to us about your interaction with Russia Today and what you sensed and what that experience was like? Thank you for that correction.
Yeah, no, I'm a journalist and I was asked to appear on Russia Today to talk about WikiLeaks. And I didn't want to talk about that because I don't believe that reputable journalists should appear on this network and give RT a sheen or a patina of legitimacy that they don't deserve. So I told them that I would go on, and I did go on. And this was about a couple of weeks after the Russian Duma passed this anti-gay law last summer. And I had some rainbow suspenders that I found in a shop, and I just pulled them on and started yelling at the host and saying that she was a liar and the network is a bunch of propagandists. How do you sleep at night? You should be ashamed of yourself. And this went on for about 2 minutes, and I'm surprised that they didn't cut me off. I thought they would have done that earlier. So about 2 minutes into my rant, I guess you could call it, they did cut off the transmission. And then they canceled my car service to the airport. But I thought it was important to do this because I think a lot of people up until this was, keep in mind, this is about 3 or 4 months before the Maidan. This was August of last year. So this was before a lot of people really understood what RT was. They might not even know that it was a Russian propaganda network. I think a lot of people just watch it because they think it's a counter-hegemonic news source. It covers the stories that the mainstream media won't touch, particularly younger people who might be more skeptical of mainstream media. And I thought that by performing this stunt, it could, inform people about the true nature. And so you saw what's happened over the past year. I'm very proud. There was a woman, Liz Wall, who you might be confusing me with her. She worked for RT for 2 years, and she quit live on the air in March after the Crimean operation. I had been in touch with her before she did that. There was a woman a couple weeks ago in London, Sarah Firth, who had worked at RT for 5 years, and she also quit the network very publicly. And you saw a couple weeks ago there was a woman from this new network, Ukraine Today, who went on, and she sort of pulled a Kirchick, I guess you could say. She started shouting at the host about how they're murdering Ukrainians and whatnot. So this is how, if you're ever invited to go on this network, this is how you should behave. You should not go on and engage in a conversation with these people as if it's Wolf Blitzer. It's not. So.
Thanks, James. Andrii, how does this play in Kyiv? You're in the center and the heart pulse of journalism in Ukraine. What's going on in Ukraine? How do they react about what's going on? Tell us the perspective from Kyiv.
Well, I haven't been in Kyiv for a few years actually, and I arrived quite recently, and I see that right now there is nothing new that Kyiv journalists are doing. There is still, there must be journalistic. Again, it's all about education. If we have journalists who are educated, who know how to work with the information, they work with the information the same way they usually do. It's just much more information now and much more disinformation now. So it's all about volume, and journalists right now need to deal with a much bigger volume of information, and that's pretty much it. That's why.
Journalists gather in Kyiv. What do they talk amongst themselves? What's the conversation professional young people? How do they feel they can respond to what's going on?
Well, just by working. We can talk about how do we show things, some new ways of showing things, but it's not that much different from what we used to do in previous years. So again, it's just that you need to work and you need to stay true to the same values that you learned earlier.
So, Paul, talk to us about what you think should be done. How would we react to this? Everyone, I think, is aware of what's happening, but feel, in many ways, impotent and helpless in the face of this. What would you recommend?
In my own work, I've focused on three things. I'm a PhD economist, so I look at this as an economist. I've studied Russia for 50 years as an academic. I think it's very important to counter disinformation, but one of the things I've tried to do is to create in my readers an understanding of what this Putin regime is. Once you understand what this Putin regime is, then you much better understand the disinformation. Putin is not a nationalist. He is a greedy, corrupt politician who is interested in his self-preservation and is interested in his power. So, for that reason, he's used Ukraine, he's used Moldova, he's used Georgia simply to up his own popularity, to strengthen himself. This is a point very few people understand, so you have to understand the basics of the Putin regime. Then you understand this craziness that we all see. So part of my work has been as a writer for Forbes, which has credibility, and this is a big problem, getting more Western journalists who are not going to be accused of being propagandists for the Ukrainian side. Get more legitimate journalists with sound backgrounds and so forth to write about these things. I don't particularly enjoy writing about the craziness that I've seen. One of the first things that I wrote about was this actor they hired to play 3 different roles, and he appeared on 3 different Russian television stations, describing how he'd been tortured and abused by these Ukrainian Nazi Hitler Jugend. So it's not terribly satisfying as a scholar to write about this, but it must be done. Unfortunately, there are very few of us who do this, and I'm very pleased at the work James's people do. There's very good work, but too few people who will not be associated and accused of being simply mouthpieces for the Ukrainian side. We need more of them.
Can I ask Paul a question?
Please, of course.
I used to work for Radio Free Europe. Do you think that revitalizing Radio Free Europe, which is a U.S. government congressionally funded network, do you think that that is a good tool in this, or should it be privately funded?
Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty have played essential roles in supplying the basic information. I'll give you one statistic that you should all know. Putin spends, I think, $3 to $5 billion on RT.
It's 350 million.
Oh, excuse me, a large amount. We spend like 1/10 of that on Radio Liberty and so forth. So there is this imbalance that you see everywhere.
And RT, I would say, it's recently gone into Latin American and Spanish language. You can imagine how seductive that is. There's already a pre-existing anti-Americanism throughout Latin America. So now you have this vicious anti-American, Russian-sponsored stuff coming on TV 24/7 throughout Latin America. And they've also announced they're going to be doing RT in French and German. And Germany is crucial here. It's the most important economy in Europe. It's the most important political power in Europe, particularly with relations with Russia. And there's a real question about the return of German neutralism. And where does Germany see itself? Does it see itself as part of the West, or is it going to be a middle neutral power? And I think RT broadcasting in the German language is going to find a wide audience in Germany, and it's something to be very concerned about.
I would like to add something. Я хотіла себе перевірити на те, скільки меседжів я повторюю, які корисні Путіну.
I want to test myself on how many messages I repeat myself after Putin.
Я хотіла себе перевірити на кількість меседжів, які мені міг нав'язати Путін.
I tried to test myself on a number of messages that Putin could give me.
Тому що я вважаю, що путінська пропаганда всюди.
Because I believe Putin propaganda is everywhere.
Я не хочу вас ображати, я впевнена, що і ви повторюєте його думки.
I don't want to discourage you, but I believe in even among you, there are some people who repeat this propaganda.
Тому що модерація цих меседжів іде на найвищому рівні.
Because the moderation of these messages is going everywhere on different levels.
Ресурси задіяні колосальні.
The resources that are given for that is very, very huge.
Це великі гроші.
It's big money.
Це 57 культурних центрів по всьому світу.
It's 57 cultural centers in the world.
Це рекламне агентство, інформаційне агентство і Тартас.
Information agencies Tartas.
Це є меседжі через всю дипломатію.
This is a message that going through diplomats.
Це є модерування журналістських матеріалів.
This is the changes of journalist materials.
Це є модерування в соцмережах.
This is the changes in social media.
Це є маніпуляції суспільною думкою.
This is a manipulation of social thought.
Таким чином, що один меседж буквально за 3 секунди розганяється по всьому світу.
The idea is that the one message can go through viral through the whole nation in 3 seconds.
Сьогодні, вже зараз, в цю хвилину, розробляється меседж, який ми з вами через 2 місяці будемо повторювати. На жаль.
Today they develop a new message that we will repeat in 2 months.
Ось чому я тут сказати «Стоп пропаганда Путіна».
That's why I'm here today to say stop propaganda, Putin's propaganda.
Я принципово не хочу повторювати речі, які потрібні Путіну.
I don't want to repeat the things that Putin says.
So, Ruslana, if we could, I would like to engage with the audience. Have we got runners for the microphones?
Yeah.
Terrific. So, if you have a question you'd like to ask anyone in the panel generally or specifically, please raise your hands. The Nuta is coming around with microphones. Please. Stand, identify yourself, and let's keep it to a question, not a pontification, no presentation of issues.
Absolutely. My name is Alexander. I would like to ask in particular the journalists on your stance on censorship, because it's one ways to counter the propaganda or informational war, but it is counterproductive from the stance of democracy and freedom of speech. So Russian channels were banned in Ukraine recently, and what's your stance on that? That's the question. Thank you.
Andrii, I guess it's to you.
Yeah, probably. As understands for the question, no, of course, as any other journalist, my stand is against any kind of censorship. But now you're mixing it up a bit, because banning a channel is not a censorship. Censorship is what happens inside, like what happens in a newspaper, like when someone says to a newspaper what to say and what not to say. What happened with the ban of Russian channels? I can't say I have an opinion, a strong opinion on this one. I understand why it is it might be an incorrect decision, just because it's still some information that people have the right to receive. But at the same time, we have an ongoing war in the country. And that's why I think I can't tolerate these kind of measures.
Any other comments? Next question, please. Please stand and identify yourself. Thank you.
My name is Mark Dillon. I guess, judging from what everyone has said, one of the most important tasks would be reaching the Russian people with the truth. And in spite of everything, so much media in Russia is controlled by the state. So what is the best way to try to reach the Russian people with the truth?
Paul, please.
If you read the Russian internet, you will be amazed at how free the internet is. There are people out there who speak the truth. The problem is they have a very, very small audience. The Russian people get their information through television, through game shows, and interspersed with news. You have to somehow penetrate the mass media, and Putin will not allow that to happen. So my answer is, I don't know how to do it.
Ruslana, some comments?
Уявіть собі, що підтримка росіян для Путіна – це просто забезпечення його такої політичної амбіції, не більше.
Just imagine that the support of Russian people of Putin is just his inner circle and just his support in the country.
Уявіть собі, що це люди, які настільки налаштовані на цю вібрацію, яку задають російські мас-медіа, що інакше стилістику журналістики вони не сприймають.
They're just so in tune with the media and the messages that they receive right now with it, that they cannot understand anything else that's going through that.
Я вам скажу, але ви мені дайте охорону після цього.
I'll just tell you something, but you just...
Security, I need security.
I need security and promise that you won't...
We need to speak with Russian people by Russian voice.
We need to speak to Russian people with Russian voice.
These people will understand just the same mentality, the same emotion, the same things, everything which these people really understand. Not we know the truth, let's listen. No, it doesn't work. We need more listen Russia voices, different voices, doesn't matter. I met the guys from Moscow. These guys most interested here for me to speak with about the situation. I want to listen and hear this voice, and then I will understand how can I speak with these guys. Just, to organize special mass media or special content, it doesn't work. Я пробую збирати ці російські голоси.
I'm trying to gather the Russian voices everywhere.
І я пробую аналізувати.
And I'm trying to analyze it.
Найцікавіше, що там потрапляються дуже сміливі фрази.
The most interesting thing that there are very powerful phrases that I can get.
Наприклад, люди говорять, не думайте, що в Росії ніхто не розуміє, що Путін просто руйнує Росію.
For example, don't believe that everybody in Russia believes that
Putin destroyed Russia.
Putin is destroying Russia.
Не думайте, що росіяни підтримують Путіна.
Don't think that Russians are supporting Putin.
Не думайте, що в Росії немає супротиву.
Don't believe that in Russia there is against forces.
Ми просто не можемо до них добратися.
We just cannot reach these people.
Я думаю, що мене не пустять в Росію, як я захотіла.
I believe they will not let me go to Russia even if I wanted to.
Я великий ворог Путіна.
I am an enemy of Putin.
You know why? Because I have an independent voice and I say the truth.
Next question. Identify yourself and provide the question. You're on.
Yes, my name is Taras Rafa. I have a question probably to everybody, maybe just particularly to Paul. So, we all know that TV channels are more powerful mass media than any other means today for average people to reach the most of the population. Why do you think there is such an imbalance of covering Ukraine news in a major news channels here, like CNN's or whatever, comparing to other regions, or are the events in? Is it non-professional journalists, or do they just translate whatever they see around, or that's really Russian propaganda? What is your opinion on that?
There was an interesting article written by a Ukrainian analyst called "The Death of Western Journalism," and the death of Western journalism is due to the fact that Western journalism feels it must cover both sides, it must be fair to both sides. Therefore, you will never hear invasion. You will hear incursion or something like that. So,
accidental.
Or paratroopers accidentally ending up in eastern Ukraine. So, it's discouraging because we really cannot expect our journalism to become Russian type of journalism. So we just have to face this imbalance, and we have to hope that we can reach an audience properly. But I don't have great hope, to tell the truth. I watch German television. It's better than American television, I would say. But I'm a pessimist, and I appreciate your question.
Okay, we have time for two more questions, please.
Hello, my name is Melanie McCutcheon. I'm from here in San Francisco. And my question is sort of a follow-up to the question that was just asked. I feel that, Putin, he came out of an environment of Soviet-style lies and propaganda. And during the Cold War, certainly there were lies on both sides, but it's remarkable to me how utterly incapable our media in the United States seems to be to deal with utter lies. So, when they are told by Russian administration, no, we have not invaded Ukraine, and yet we're looking at satellite photos of tanks, Russian tanks in Ukraine. It's like they don't know how to deal with a pure, utter lie. And I'm wondering why have we sort of lost our ability to critically analyze the information that's coming out of Russia?
I wouldn't be so negative. I think the New York Times has done actually excellent coverage on this.
They are improving.
The Wall Street Journal, I think, has done excellent coverage on this, one of the particular issues that you raise about using these NATO photos that they've come up with, the intelligence information. I think that, I would say actually the Western media has done quite a good job on the whole of refuting some of the bigger false narratives that the Russians have been pushing.
I would like to add an unfortunate truth, and it relates to the political class in the United States and Europe. The United States and Europe do not want this war. They want this war to go away. Putin will always give them a fig leaf. The paratroopers lost their way. We didn't invade. Germany, the United States, France, they are looking for this fig leaf. And so to a great extent, your question has to do with our political class and their unwillingness to get involved in this. They simply want it out of the way.
He knows that there's very little appetite for any sort of response. As long as there's some plausible deniability, that's all he needs.
And once again, we're talking media here, and it's not, or at least not only the media who have to analyze. I mean, people who watch this need also to analyze. So media reports, and that's, I think, what the U.S. media do as well.
So we have time for one last question. We're over our time, so please.
Yeah. So my name is Yuri Panchuk, and my personal opinion is that the only reliable way to defeat Putin is to make Ukraine economically strong. Just like South Korea is much more economically stronger than North Korea, and nobody cares what North Korea think about South Korea. And in order to make this happen, I think that people should stop just fighting Putin on word after word. People should show some tangible results, and for this Ukraine has to find its place in the world economy, find its niche, and create plans and execute. So
and your question, please.
So my question is, why do you concentrate all your energy on telling that Putin is lying, instead of just executing economic plans? So why so much concentration on this?
Well, right now we are putting our energy in being here, and this is exactly a type of event that would help Ukraine to be economically strong. That's what we are doing right now, all of us.
I can answer very quickly. Your question is very important, but it also explains why we're having this war. We're having this war because Putin does not want a prosperous Europeanized Ukraine. He does not want a Maidan in Moscow. This frightened him to death. So what you're talking about is Putin's worst nightmare, a prosperous European Ukraine.
It's also deeper than that, because the disinformation is now leading and creating the situation. What I fear is that Putin has basically gotten lost in his own propaganda. They've already created this Novorossiya. You look it up on maps, on Twitter, and it already exists. They're going to have to create that now, because there's been this echo chamber of lies and disinformation for months now, that he's trapped in this alternate reality, and he may have no choice but to make the alternate reality reality.
Я згідна з вами, що нам потрібна сильна економіка.
I agree with you that we need to have a strong economy.
Ну тільки дурак скаже, що Україні потрібна сильна економіка.
Only a stupid person will say that we don't need a strong economy.
Of course. Але, but, я з великим задоволенням не з'їм канавку, але мені потрібен сьогодні сильний духовний стержень зберегти країну і не бути обдуреною.
But today I need a strong image of Ukraine and strong perception of nationality to keep it strong. And I'm not ready to eat the kanavka.
Якщо між канавкою і патріотизмом буде вибір, я виберу патріотизм, а не канавку.
If I'm going to have a choice between a kanavka and patriotism, I will choose a kanavka.
Якщо між канавкою і брехнею буде вибір, я виберу канавку.
If I'm going to have a choice between lies and kanavka, I will choose kanavka.
I thank you for your question. Guys, allow me to add the last sentences, what I need exactly. Я дуже прошу, нам потрібні програми, які забезпечують нам захист від маніпуляцій суспільною думкою в Україні.
I need channels and programs and any ideas of how we can support and secure those channels in Ukraine.
Нам обов'язково потрібні програми, щоб добитися на російські соцмережі.
We need programs how to reach the Russian channels.
Нам потрібно росіянам донести меседж, що вони не повинні йти проти нас з зброєю.
We need to give a message to Russian people. They don't need to go against us with a weapon.
Сьогодні змодерований дуже небезпечний меседж.
Today we have a very dangerous message.
Що Путін збирається дестабілізувати Польщу і Прибалтику.
That the Putin is ready to destabilize Poland and
Baltic countries. Звичайно, економічна проблема дуже важлива.
Of course, economic problem is very important.
І я вам більше скажу, we need energy independence.
We need energy.
It's more important than just to give us money. Energy independence.
Energy independence is more important than...
Thank you so much. Guys, I'm so sorry for my, emotionally speech, but I'm really open to work with everybody who understand that we need, of course, what you propose, and everybody understand exactly what we need right now. Thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, keep your hands together. Let's show some